Hi guys, this is Ms. Bofice again, and today we're talking about comparing rational and irrational numbers. Yesterday, rational numbers we learned are just numbers that can be written as a fraction or ratio, whereas irrational cannot be written as a fraction or ratio. So like we did with Ms. Dupakowski, I'd say last week, we put them on number lines and just compared them. That's the same thing we're doing today. So our learning objective is that I can use rational approximations of irrational numbers to compare their size, to locate them on a number line, and to estimate their value. So all we're doing is we're going to be given different types of numbers, whether it's non-perfect roots or decimals or fractions or repeating decimals, and you're just going to have to compare them. So when comparing and ordering, you want to make sure that you change all numbers into decimals. So decimals. It's going to be easier for you to think about them and compare them when they're all in some type of form, and decimals are usually the easiest. So when you have to compare or when you have to order, you want to make sure you change them all to decimals like we did with the non-perfect roots last week, and then you're going to compare them and just use the original form. So the first type of problem you can have is you can, they might say compare the following numbers using either the less than sign or the greater than sign. So first up, we have the square root of 32. To put that into my calculator, I do second x squared, type in 32 and close my parentheses, and I get 5.656. So I'm just going to write that, 5.656 versus 5.1. So 5.1 is the same thing as 5.100, just so that they have the same decimal places. And then you just ask yourself, which one's bigger? So if we're looking at the two numbers, you'll see that the square root of 32, which is approximately 5.656, is bigger. So it's going to get the greater than sign. All right. The second one, we have the cubed root of 343. So 3 second caret 343. And when we type that in, we get a decimal. No, we don't. Just kidding. We get 7. So the cubed root of 343 is 7. And then 15 halves. To change that to a decimal, reminder, you just do 15 divided by 2 on your calculator because we learned that in the very beginning. So 15 divided by 2, we get 7.5. And then just so that they have the same amount of decimal places, I'm just going to add a 0. And you ask yourself, which one's bigger? Well, 7.5 is bigger than 7.0, so the less than sign. Oops. I don't know what's going. Get out. There we go, sorry. So the less than sign. So 7 is less than 7.5. Okay, so the opening always goes towards the bigger number. So the alligator mouth eats the bigger number. We also can have them ordering from least to greatest or greatest to least, so smallest to biggest in this case. We will look at this first one. 9.4 is already in decimal form, so we don't have to do anything with that. 19 divided by 2, or 19 halves. I just do 19 divided by 2, and I get 9.5. So this is really 9.5, and then 9.4 gets to stay the same. And then the square root of 80. So second x squared 80, I get 8.94. So they want you to put it from smallest to biggest. So the smallest in this case out of these three numbers is the square root of 80, because the square root of 80 is about 8.94. So we're going to list that first, square root of 80. And then I personally cross out when I use something so I know what I have left to use. Next up, we have 9.4 and then 19 halves. 9.4 comes next because 19 halves is technically 9.5. So these are from least to greatest, smallest to biggest. Remember, you want to use the original form. We're just using the decimals so that it's easier for us to compare, but we need to put it back in original form. We have the cubed root of 40. So 3 second caret 40. And I get about 3.42 when I round. So this is 3.42. We have the square root of 110. So second x squared 110. and I get 10.49 when I round. 10.49. And then lastly, I have 32 sevenths. I just do 32 divided by 7 on my calculator, and I get 4.57. And they want from smallest to greatest, or least to greatest, smallest to biggest. So out of all of these, the smallest is the cubed root of 40. So that one goes first. So cubed root of 40, cross it out. Out of the two that are left, it's this 4.57, which is really 32 sevenths. So 32 sevenths, cross it out. And the only thing left is the square root of 110. Square root of 110, which was 10.49. So least to greatest, or smallest to biggest. Sometimes you have to watch out because sometimes they'll say greatest to least. So just make sure you know which way they want you to go. And then they can ask you to put it on a number line. So we have 4 points right here. They want us to put it on a number line. So point A is the cubed root of 54. 3 second caret 54. And I get about 3.78. So I'm going to put that right there, 3.78. Next up, they have the square root of 17. So second x squared, 17. And they get about 4.12. 4.12. Next up, we have 7/3, which is just 7 divided by 3. And when I do that, I get 2.3 repeating. So 2.3 repeating. So I put a little bar. And then lastly, I have 1.6 times pi. So I'm going to type that exactly into my calculator. The pi button is right above the caret key. So 1.6 pi button. And I get about 5.03 when I round. 5.03. So the last thing they want you to do is just to put this on the number line. So we have this number line. They're counting by 0.5s. So 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, so on and so on. So point A is 3.78. So that is between 3.5 and 4. So I'll write about here. I'm just going to mark a little hash and put A. And that was the cubed root of 54. And then I did that, so I cross it out. Point B is the square root of 17. That's about 4.12. So that's between 4 and 4.5, closer to 4.0. So I'm just going to go right here. We'll say the square root of 17, which is B. Cross it out. We have 2.3 repeating, which is point C. So 2.3 is between 2 and 2.5. So that's about right here. And that is 7/3, or C. Cross it out because I'm done. And then D is 5.03. That's between 5 and 5.5. So it's about closer to 5. I'm going to call it 1.6 pi, or it's called D. So those are the 3 types of problems that they can give you. They can ask you to compare using the greater than or less than symbol. They can ask you to just put them in order, either from biggest to smallest or smallest to biggest. You just have to read. Or they can ask you to place them on a number line. All you have to do as a reminder is that you just need to change them all to decimal form. And then once they're in decimal form, you can place them accordingly or compare them accordingly. If there are no questions, you are just working on today's assignment. I'll see you guys later.